Hey guys, Robin here, and welcome to another movie review. Today I am going to be reviewing the sequel to the 2006 surprise hit Borat Subsequent Moviefilm, also known as Borat something something delivery of Prodigious Bribe to American War, I think. But it's a really long title, so yeah. But anyway, so the story that after is that for the past 14 years since Borat came out, Borat has been Borat has been serving hard labor and everyone in his village hates him, which is possibly a reference to the fact that once the original film came out, the people who lived in the village Borat filmed in weren't too happy. But despite this, they did get Borat's neighbor, Nursultan Taryakbai, to reprise his role. But, and Borat's son, and Borat's son, Huey Lewis, also appears, but he's been recast because the actor who played him because the actor who played Huey Lewis in Borat, which was only through photographs, the actor who played Huey Lewis in those photographs, has unfortunately passed away, so he was recast. And when Borat comes to meet his sons, Huey Lewis tells him that he changed his name to Jeffrey Epstein, and yeah, and so yeah, Borat. It's basically he just so yeah, and and if you haven't seen the movie, no, Ken Davitan did not reprise his role as Azmat Bagatov for this one. I'm not going to say what happens to him, but it is a bit, but it is interesting. And so yeah, and so Borat basically goes to America via cargo freighter that stops at like pretty much every other place on the planet before before Borat ends up in America. But even though it's been 15 years, even though it's been 14 years since the events of the first film, people still recognize Borat as Borat, which means that he has to don a large amount of disguises. And now this movie was filmed during during the still ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, which is more on that later. Now, yeah. Now, so Borat basically disguises himself as his disguises mostly consist of him pretending to be a stereotypical fat, ignorant American, but Borat cannot give his daughter to Donald Trump, which, by the way, the movie is about Borat having to deliver his daughter to a high-up politician in America to better the connection between Kazakhstan, well, this movie's version of Kazakhstan and the United States. And yeah, However, he is unable to deliver his daughter to Donald Trump because he defecated um, in front of the building in the first movie. So instead, he tried to deliver his daughter to Vice President Mike Pence, and and his way of getting he enters the hall dressed as a Klansman, and then he goes into the bathroom and puts on a Donald Trump disguise, and he is just running into where Pence is giving a speech with his daughter over his shoulder, and he's like, Michael Penis, I have the bride. And of course, Mike Pence is just looking, and of course, Mike Pence is just kind of looking a bit pissed off as Borat is still trying to convince him he's Trump. And at one point, he even shouts, "You're fired!" again, while he is dressed as Donald Trump, which is, God, I mean, now this movie, it is still very, very funny. However, this movie is kind of lacking in a sense because in the first movie, whenever Borat did or said something shocking, the people he was talking to, they would usually react it negatively, you know? But in this movie, like, there's a scene where Borat asked a lady, "Do you like Jews will never replace us?" or something very similar to that on a cake, and she does it, no questions asked. Hell, there's even a scene where Borat in disguise and his daughter Tunka are doing a father-daughter dance, and during actually before the dance, her monthly cycle starts, and she flashes her. Uh, okay, this is gonna be really gross. So when I go like this, unmute. Okay, so mute. So when I go like this, unmute. For those of you that muted, for those of you that didn't mute, she has a period and she flashes people her period blood-soaked panties. Okay? And the crowd just barely reacts. I mean, there's a few people that are grossed out, but you would have, by the time expecting, like, everyone would be like, "Ah, oh, jeez." But no, it's just, no. And, and of course, in typical Borat humor, Borat carries around a book that, according to this book, the sinking of the Titanic happened because a woman decided to become a journalist. The Hindenburg happened because a woman drove a car. And if a girl attempts to masturbate, her cooch will bite down on her arm and pull her entire body inside itself, trapping her in there. Like straight out of that movie, Teeth, kind of. And yeah, this movie is just, and so Borat basically, once his daughter finds out that none of this is true, she is understandably pissed off at him, and basically just abandons him. And so Borat tries to find her, searching around this town that is completely deserted. No cars driving around, no people, nothing. So he asks the first person he sees, which is a redneck, buying a six-pack of beer and a bag of Doritos, like, "Hey, where are all the people?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, there's this virus going around. We got to quarantine." And Borat is like, "Okay, can I quarantine with you?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." and supposedly Sacha Baron Cohen spent 5 days with these two guys at their cabin, and he was in character the entire time. And these people, they are good people. It's just their minds are horribly polluted with QAnon conspiracy theories, which I'm not American, so I don't know any shit about which, um, that's some American shit, and, just miss me with that. But anyway, yeah. So, I did enjoy this movie. Hmm. So basically, if I gave Borat a 10 out of 10, whoo boy. I would not, I would have to say that Borat 2 is, I would have to say that Borat 2 is, it's either a 8 or a 9 out of 10. It's no lower than a 7. So yeah, Borat 2 is not as good, but it's almost as good. And in the first film, Borat's means of transportation was an old ice cream truck. In this film, his means of transportation is an early 80s light-duty Toyota pickup that is hauling around a trailer meant for horses, but Borat has repurposed it into kind of a mini apartment for himself, which was actually meant for a chimpanzee named Johnny the Monkey, who not only has a higher position in Kazakhstan's government, he is also apparently Kazakhstan's #1 porn star, which is of course, and yeah, and yeah, yeah, and so yeah, that's Borat 2. Yeah, it's a very entertaining film. There is this one part where Borat's singing this anti Bill Clinton song that has the lyric, "What we gonna do? We gonna get fit injected with the Wuhan flu," which goddamn, it is such a bad song. And by bad, I don't mean oh my god, this song is a piece of shit. It's a very offensive and inappropriate song. But god damn it, if that Wuhan flu line isn't catchy. Just watch the film, it's freaking catchy. It's almost I almost feel bad that I found it kind of catchy, but yeah, yeah. However, the movie never says well, I mean, in the first film, we see how Borat got the ice cream truck. He bought it from a used car lot. Whoopee. But this film never really, it never explains how Borat got this Toyota as well as the horse trailer. Yes. And by the way, the leader of Kazakhstan, who was just barely mentioned in passing in the first film, he actually plays a role in this film in getting Borat pulled out of the gulag and sent to America with his daughter to be a bride to Mike Pence, which later became to Rudy Giuliani, which that scene goes somewhere, and yeah. And so earlier I mentioned that the coronavirus played into this film. Well, I'm going to discuss that now, and this is going to be major spoilers. So do not. So if you have not seen Borat 2, stop the video now and go watch it. Okay. If you're still here, the way that the coronavirus pandemic plays into the plot is is Borat before he leaves to go on this cargo freighter journey all around the world, before ending up in America. He is injected with a brown fluid, which they call gypsy tears, which Borat buys because Borat. And so Borat returned to Kazakhstan after after Rudy Giuliani rejects Tutar, and and Borat and his daughter, they go back to Kazakhstan. Borat is think he gonna be executed, but it turns out sending Borat to America to give his daughter to a higher politician, that was a cover up for the true reasons they sent him. Those gypsy tears they injected him with, no. That was the coronavirus. So, according to this movie, the coronavirus was created in Kazakhstan, and Borat was the patient zero. And so his cargo freighter journey around the world, that spread the virus around. And again, in the universe of this movie where Borat is a real person and not a character, Kazakhstan created the coronavirus. Borat was patient zero, and he spread it around to Australia, some little ports in the Mediterranean Sea, the UK, and of course all around America, and of course to Tom Hanks, which, by the way, is actually a cameo as himself, which was pretty cool. They got Tom Hanks for this. Yeah. And yeah, this movie, yeah. So yeah, I do recommend Borat too. Check it out, give it a watch. If you like the first film, if you like the first film, there's a very good chance you're gonna like the sequel. It is currently streaming on Amazon Prime. At the time of this review, that's the only place I can find it. And yeah, so basically to watch it, you just start a free trial, and you can watch it too. Yeah. I also watched Jumanji: The Next Level, but I'm probably not going to review that. I mean, I might, but I might not, so, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all soon in the near future. Peace.